Good afternoon. My name is Angelusuro Morales Torres, and today I am going to present a timeline about the historical events of Colombia and its evolution over time. To begin, it is important to understand that Colombia has gone through different processes of transformation, especially in this economic, political, and social structure. This change did not happen suddenly, but rather developed progressively through key historical events. First, in 1889, the foundation of Bavaria marked the beginning of industrialization in Colombia. This event was significant because it showed the transition from a mainly agricultural economy to a more modern and industrial one. Later, in 130, with the government of Enrique La Herrera, Colombia entered a new period known as the Liberal Republic. During this time, the state began to play a more active role in the economy, especially after the effects to the Great Depression, promoting national industry and reducing dependence important. Debt between in 134 and 138 during the first presidency of Alfonso López Pumarejo, an important reform progress called the Revolution of on the March was implemented. Its main objective was to modernize the country. One of the most important change was the constitutional reform of 136, which established the private property must fulfill a social function and allow the state to intervene in the economy. At the same time, the agrarian reform of 136 sought to reduce inequality in a land distribution, improving conditions for rural workers, and promoting the productive use of land. In addition, the educational reform between 135 and 138 expanded access to education, making it free and compulsory and promoting greater academic freedom. After this period between 138 and 142, the government of Eduardo Santos continued this reform in a more moderate way, focusing of maintaining stability on the country. Later, during the second presidency of Alonso López Pumarejo between 119 190 and 145, new social and economic reforms were proposed. However, there, these were limited by the effects of the World War II and internal political tensions, including an attempt coup in 184. By 145, a new constitutional reform consolidated many of the previous changes reinforcing the role of the state in social and economic matters. In the following decades, especially between the 100, 190 and 185, an important alliance between industrials and coffee producers helped strengthen the Colombian economy. This led to the creation of the institutions and contributed to economic growth and, and an increase in a per capita income. However, despite this advance, Colombia continued to face deep social inequalities. The situation contributed to development at the armed conflict, which intensified between 1981 and 202. During this period, billions increased significantly, affecting mainly the civilian population. Finally, it is important to highlight that journalists were also victims of the conflict. Between 1981 and 202, many were killed, which shows the risks to freedoms of expression and democracy in this time of violence. In conclusion, this timeline showed that although Colombia made important progress in modernization and economic development, it did not fully resolve in a social inequalities. As a result, this unsolved issues contribute to the emergence of conflict, demonstrating that development must go hand in hand with social equity. Thank you very much for your attention.